it definitely extended beyond HR and IT. Across the board, the businesses said that they just felt more modern.
Hello and welcome to the Workforce Newsroom. I'm Ted Kopta. How much time and money can IT and their organizations save by integrating their many HR systems using APIs? To dive into new research with me here is Matt Dunham, consultant at Forrester. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Can you talk a little bit about what an API is in this context and how it helps save organizations money?
Yeah, absolutely. So APIs are application programming interfaces. For those who don't know, they're essentially a way for two IT applications to connect with each other, to speak with each other. So in this context, in the HR context, this could be your timekeeping system transferring data over to your payroll system to make sure that employees are paid for the hours that they do work.
So that brings me to the topic of your recent research, Matt, where you spoke with HR and IT leaders who've integrated their systems using APIs. So I'd like to start off with an understanding from you on how different systems that are in place today for HR, time, and payroll can create challenges for HR and IT leaders.
Yeah, so I had some in-depth interviews with both IT and HR staff, and what I kept hearing consistently was that they didn't have APIs to connect their different tools. So all of these different tools, your benefits, your payroll, your timekeeping tools, they all essentially operated in silos. So for example, if you onboarded a new employee, you had to enter all of their information into each of these, potentially 6 or 7 or 8 different systems. So you had to enter, their name, their title, their pay into each system. And when you're managing, hundreds or even thousands of employees, you're just opening up a lot of risk for data entry issues, which can cause payroll challenges, which can frustrate a lot of folks, and also compliance risks as well. So essentially, they said they were devoting way too much HR and IT time to managing all these HR tools, but still they had all sorts of data inaccuracies because it was so manual. So from what I heard from customers is that these APIs are saving their IT and their HR staff tons of hours. It could be hundreds or even thousands of hours per year. And with those time savings, these teams are able to avoid hiring new HR IT folks. So there is a hard dollar cost saving as well.
I'm curious, the time savings, very appealing to organizations. How long is it taking them to realize that from a cost standpoint?
Yeah, well, to be clear, once you start using API Central, you have access to those APIs right away. We did hear from some of the interviewees, it was kind of a best practice. They devoted 2, maybe 3 weeks to training users, provisioning users to use these APIs and setting up security controls. But from there, the cost savings really kicked in right away, and they only ramped up once you started integrating more and more of your systems with these APIs.
So what are some of the other immediate benefits that HR and IT leaders saw?
So a big one that we talked about was around onboarding. So for example, as I mentioned, if you hire a new employee, you would have to set up all their employee information, their name, their contact information, their pay, into each of these different tools. Whereas once you had access to these APIs, you could enter it into one tool and it would synchronize across your digital infrastructure to make sure that, first of all that information is up to date so you don't have any sort of data errors, and it's consistent across all your tools. So you're looking at huge time savings for employees in charge of onboarding new staff. And on top of that, we also heard about lots of time savings for the HR staff in charge of reporting. So HR folks, in general, are putting together weekly, monthly reports on, recruitment efforts, hiring trends, employee engagement metrics. And without access to the APIs, they had to, manually scour across all their different tools to pull that data to put together these reports. With the APIs, they're able to automatically aggregate all of that data and put together those reports a lot quicker. So we're looking at huge time savings on the reporting side as well. And then there's also additional IT time savings on actually connecting these applications, because previously some IT staff were building, manual data connectors between different applications. But this was such a labor-intensive, time-intensive process that it just wasn't scalable. They weren't able to pursue all of the use cases that they were able to pursue once they were able to use the APIs.
So Matt, did any of the organizations that you speak with talk about the impact that was made beyond just HR and IT?
Yeah, absolutely. I heard across the board, outside of HR and IT, that it just made their organizations more flexible and more modern when they had all these integration use cases through these APIs. In the full report that we wrote, there's a use case that we referenced there around a warehouse cost optimization initiative. So if you want to look into your warehouse costs and identify any sort of inefficiencies, you want to pull data from your warehouse system, but also from your payroll system, your timekeeping system, and maybe even your supply chain system. With APIs, a project like this is a lot easier. So organizations are able to more quickly start reaping the cost savings from an initiative like this. And I would just say across the board, interviewees said that these APIs enable them to do all sorts of efficiency initiatives and all sorts of projects that just would not have been possible without any sort of APIs. So yeah, it definitely extended beyond HR and IT. Across the board, the businesses said that they just felt more modern with these APIs.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. For more on this research on the time and cost savings of custom integrations, visit adp.com/API-ROI.